Welcome to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Calvin Butenhoff. We are coming to you live from our studio in sunny, breezy downtown Waukesha. You can always join us, call or text, same number, 855-752-4842. That's 855-75-CIVIC. Or leave a comment on the live stream if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. We have a very, very busy show today. Coming up next hour is just jam-packed. Excited to have Maureen Beulah here. She is with Wisconsin Women in Conservation, and we've had them on the show before. And this is primarily aimed at women in farming and other related conservation areas. And they're having a kind of a kickoff event that's coming up. It's a breakfast or it's lunch on the farm. And Maureen Beulah is going to join us to talk about all the things that WIC is doing and what their aims are. Of course, JR Radcliffe, the sports guru from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, will join us at 11:33 to talk all things sports balls. And then weather and wine with Brittany Merlot. Going to wrap up the show at 11:50, find out what the forecast is. And she's got a really interesting story about hurricanes, too.
Yep.
That we're going to be talking about as well.
Yes,
speaking of news, if you ever are looking for news, go to our website, civicmedia.us.
Yes.
Seriously, our news department does an incredible job even curating for your specific community.
Yeah.
Stories about lacrosse, stories about Hayward, stories about Amory. Which we're going to be talking about a little bit later, too.
Yes, indeed.
This hour, we have news. We're going on the road, baby. We're going on the road next week. Also, of course, our statewide text to win Scotty Summer Contest continues all this week and all through next week. Next hour, we will have the word for you that you want to text in using the Civic Media app. So go to wherever you get your apps and download the Civic Media app that allows you to call and text directly from the app. And that's how you need to enter your word for this contest with some great prizes, including the chance at a pair of Milwaukee Brewers Club level seats. I know Brian has used those seats. He said they're awesome.
Oh, they're great.
Luke's used them.
I've used them.
You've used them too. And then these great grand prizes. So we'll have more details coming up. That is coming up next hour. So do it now. Download the app
right now.
I'm going to start off with a solemn beginning because I think it's important. Today is the 80th anniversary of D-Day with the invasion of Normandy. The thing that has always brought it home and the reality of it is the movie Saving Private Ryan and the first 20 minutes of that movie when they're landing. Terrifying.
Yeah.
Literally terrifying. And these were boys.
Yes.
Most of them.
Yes.
17, 18, 19-year-old kids.
Yes.
President Biden in France this morning addressing a large crowd of veterans, and he was talking about people from all different walks of life who fought in this war to defend freedom for the world, essentially. Calvin, let's play that clip.
Woody Woodhouse is here. Members of the legendary Tuskegee Airmen who flew over 15,000 sorties during the war. Marjorie Stone is here. She enlisted in the women's branch of the Naval Reserve, became an aircraft mechanic, spent the war keeping American planes and pilots in the air. Theirs has always been the story of America. Just walk the rows of this cemetery as I have. Nearly 10,000 heroes buried side by side, officers and enlisted, immigrants and native born, different races, different faiths, but all Americans. All served with honor when America and the world needed them most. Millions back home did their part as well. From coast to coast, Americans found countless ways to pitch in. They understood our democracy is only as strong as all of us make it together. The men who fought here became heroes, not because they were the strongest or toughest or most fiercest, although they were, but because they were given an audacious mission, knowing, every one of them knew, the probability of dying was real. But they did it anyway.
President Biden this morning in France, marking the 80th anniversary of D-Day in Normandy. Incredible numbers when you really start to look at this. The amphibious assault on France's northern beaches by some 160,000 Allied troops, including 73,000 Americans. And thousands died on that day.
160,000. That is 20%, maybe, the population of Milwaukee City. Just think about that.
It's just
160,000 young fighters
from all over the world.
from all over the world with one mission.
And again, if you can rent that movie, I highly encourage you to rent that film. If nothing else, just to bring the reality of how daunting that invasion was.
Yeah.
They were sitting ducks.
Yep.
When they landed in Normandy, and the weather was not what they had hoped for. So the water was much rougher.
Yeah.
A lot of those poor kids were so sick from seasickness by the time that they landed, they barely had a chance.
Some of them never made it on land. They
died
in the water.
Yeah,
And
they died in the water. So we
Yeah.
absolutely salute their sacrifice
Yes.
and thank them for our sacrifice in ensuring that we live in a free country.
And it's important to remember that, to protect that, and to never, ever take that for granted.
It's also important to remember that this is what birthed NATO.
Yes.
After World War II, this is what gave birth to NATO. And NATO still remains crucially important.
To put it mildly.
There are some
Yes.
who say we should withdraw from NATO. They're not paying their fair share. There's no Bank of NATO, by the way. It doesn't work like that.
Really, that's where I have all of my loans.
Is that where you bank?
The Bank of NATO Credit Union.
Yeah. No, it doesn't work like that. But we are going to continue talking about the importance of NATO. We've had several guests on in the last couple of months, why it is critically important that this alliance remains intact, and who it benefits if NATO does not stay intact. And they're not our friends.
And what the consequences are if we were to just leave.
Yeah, just pull out of NATO.
It's not just as simple. And this smacks of Brexit, when people are like, we just need to leave the EU.
And everything will be great.
It'll be fine. Everything's fixed. No problem, we'll leave. No, this is a massive, massive shift. And it affects policy on defense, on economics, on fair trade. All of these things come into play if we even consider the idea of leaving NATO. And yet people still just kind of say, oh, we should do it. So, give me a good scenario. Give me your plan. That's what I always want. It's like when people are like, do this huge thing. Cool. Let me know your contingency plan. What do we do next? Do we just start our own NATO?
Well, there you go, looking for planning ahead and consequences and looking at things down the road, which isn't always necessarily
I'm a fool.
important to people. And I also think it's important, as you're watching coverage today of the observance of the 80th anniversary of D-Day, the messages that come out from certain politicians about how they honor and revere our veterans. Their words are one thing, their actions are another. At the end of July in 2022, Republican Senator Ted Cruz, along with a number of other Republicans in the Senate, voted against the PACT Act, which is intended to help our veterans. They all voted against it, and then they fist bumped on the floor of the Senate.
Yeah.
So words are lovely and platitudes are fine, but let's see what you actually do and put some actions behind your words.
I think that's more forward thinking you're talking about there, Jane.
A person can hope. A person can hope.
It's easy to tweet.
And this also is not completely related, but I did want to mention this as well. Again, back the blue. We back the blue. We back our men in uniform, men and women in uniform. We are for law and order. 2 of the former law enforcement officers who defended the Capitol during the January 6th attack were jeered and booed yesterday by Republican lawmakers as they visited, on invitation, Pennsylvania's House of Representatives. U.S. Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn and former Sergeant Aquilino Gonello were introduced on the floor as heroes by the House Speaker for bravely defending democracy in the U.S. Capitol against rioters and insurrection. As the 2 men were introduced, the floor descended into chaos with several GOP lawmakers hissing and booing and a number of Republicans just walking out in protest.
What happened? Say that again. What did they do?
They hissed and booed
Yep.
and walked out.
Okay. Once again, you know what? I'm just going to make this my thing. This is going to be my thing from now until November. I want explanations of how you can support that.
But if they're going to go with the narrative that the January 6th attackers were patriots and hostages, they can't honor these two men who defended the Capitol against those people's actions. They can't. And that's why we talked about this before, that plaque.
Yeah.
There is supposed to be a plaque honoring all of the officers who defended the Capitol on January 6th. That's not up yet. This is over a year overdue now.
Yeah, it will never go up as long as the Republicans hold the House and or Senate. It will always be mired in can't get to it or whatever.
We're so busy.
Yeah. But my point is if you back the blue, square that kind of behavior for me. I'm sorry, but it's hypocritical and it's awful. These men could have given their lives. They gave their bodies to defend senators and congresspeople and the process and this country and that building. But yet, if you stand behind booing, jeering, and walking out on these so-called heroes, as you would call them, because they are police officers, square it for me, please. I beg of you.
Well, again, they have to go along with this narrative that the people who attacked the Capitol and have been through the legal system and appeared in front of, been convicted. Yeah, they're patriots and hostages, and Donald Trump says he will pardon them if he's reelected. So just keep that in mind. I think
the felon, Donald Trump?
Oh, yeah, the convicted felon. That's
felon,
that's the guy.
Trump.
That's the guy.
Yep.
You can always join us at 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Stay close. You're listening to Matenaer On Air, coming to you across the vast Civic Media radio network. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Dr. Slide on the board, coming to you from our studio in downtown Waukesha. You can call, you can text the same number, 855-752-4842, 855-CIVIC, CIVIC, or leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Oh, by the way, congratulations, Elon Musk. SpaceX succeeding in its fourth attempt to get its rockets, the most powerful ever built, to space and back. The vehicle central to Elon's vision of sending people to Mars. I just want to congratulate him. Calvin, can we get some applause, please? I am so proud of you, Elon, that it didn't suffer an unscheduled disassembly like the last time he tried to send one up there. That was
a good job.
That was a job. Well done, Elon. You must be so proud.
God, the things I would do if I had billions of dollars.
No, right? We were talking about the 80th anniversary of marking the D-Day invasion in Normandy, and a couple of texts that I wanted to get to. First, Matt from Germantown. Greg, we missed you. Hope you're feeling better.
Thank you.
Which is nice. You're feeling better, aren't you?
I sound terrible. My nose sounds like it's got every single thing in it right now, but it's fine. I feel really good.
Good. And a texter from the 262 listening here on WAUK, Turner Classics Movies is showing Saving Private Ryan tonight at 7. Thank you for that. Followed by
Yeah.
The Longest Day at 10. A couple great movies about D-Day. If you've never seen Saving Private Ryan, I highly encourage you to do that, especially if you have kids of a certain age.
Yes, I
Of
was
a
going to
certain
say, yeah,
age.
especially that first 20 minutes. That is,
It is heart-wrenching.
yes, it is.
It really is. So we were talking about D-Day, the forming of NATO
Mhm.
in the aftermath of World War II, which leads me to an interesting decision by Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, named 2 conservatives to the House Intelligence Committee yesterday. This is a big, important committee. Mike Gallagher used to sit on this
Yeah.
from Wisconsin. So who does Speaker of the House Mike Johnson tap for this highly critical position where it's my understanding they get access to all kinds of classified information?
Let's see. Highly qualified,
Mhm.
discreet, and well versed in the ways of policy and diplomacy with regard to this top. I'm wrong. You're
Yep. No,
okay.
nice try, though. That
My uncle. He
Uh,
put on it. My uncle.
Representative Scott Perry from Pennsylvania and the old pill mill doctor himself, Ronnie Jackson from Texas, have now been appointed to fill 2 vacant seats on the House Intelligence Committee. This committee regularly deals with sensitive national security information, and both men, of course, with very strong ties to the former, now convicted felon president. This should be worrisome. This is worrisome.
For a man who a few weeks ago we were given a little bit of applause to, who was trying to push through aid for Ukraine. I'm not saying I like Mike Johnson. I don't like Mike Johnson. I don't agree with him with most things. But he just does these weird things. Then he's like, let's just put these 2 yo-yos on there. And
Completely not qualified.
unqualified to the hilt, almost disrespectful to the committee. And it's going to make it a circus. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Like, is he being told you have to put these people on here, or does he like them?
Interesting that you ask that.
I'm very smart.
Someone that I follow on Twitter posted this morning, Johnson passed over Laurel Lee, who spent months on FISA. Tony Gonzalez, a Navy cryptologist, he sounds like he might be qualified. And Stephanie Bice, a well-liked member of GOP leadership, he passed over them in order to appoint Ronnie Jackson and Scott Perry. And Mike Johnson told people he did this expressly because Trump wanted him to appoint Jackson and Perry, because Trump knows they will feed him whatever information they have access to. And then I guess he can do with that information whatever he likes.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
what could possibly go wrong?
Just remember The Best and the Brightest?
Yes.
Yeah. Like, it almost was like a thing. You had to be of a certain caliber to get any job of a certain level in the government. And you could argue those points back and forth, but I feel like even the most, I don't know, nepotism based / cronyism of 30, 40 years ago, there was still some level of
A skosh
Qualification-
of qualifications.
qualification versus this. We're just like, let's get these 2 dudes. Why? Who knows?
No, why? Because they'll do what I want.
Yeah.
They will do what I tell them. Our friend Joe McClear posting on the live stream, Mega Mike obviously thought the committee needed its fix. Enter Ronnie Jackson. Absolutely. Absolutely. These are not independent people. They will not act independently. And I do not believe that they are going to act in the best interests of America. They will act in the best interests of Donald Trump.
Of course. Of course. I mean, that's the name of the game. This is a preview. This is a preview of Project 2025.
Exactly. You're
This-
exactly right.
This is exactly what, like, Right now, it's just, hey, we're going to pepper in these non-qualified individuals. I kept my mouth quiet and nice and professional there, but these unqualified individuals, a year from now, if the felon Donald Trump is in office, this will become the norm. This will be the only thing that happens with regard to appointments and to judgeships and to all of the things that require the government to give someone a job. It'll be lackeys,
Yes.
sycophants,
Yes.
and people who know nothing more than to say whatever he wants.
Scott Perry's phone was seized by the FBI in 2022 as part of his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. He was ordered to turn over cell phone records and disclose thousands of documents as part of their probe into the January 6th attack. A lawyer for Perry previously said that the GOP had an obligation to investigate concerns about the 2020 election, which of course Donald Trump lost.
Mhm.
That has been litigated and relitigated over and over and over again. It was a free and fair election. And of course, Ronnie Jackson, Dr. Pill, the former White House doc who served in the Trump administration, got demoted after reports of inappropriate conduct during that time. And we talked about this a long time ago, and this was in the news for a day or two.
Oh,
When the logs from the White House pharmacy were released under the Trump administration, that was one big party post, man.
yeah.
He
That
was passing out stuff. It was amazing.
the I am both, oh god, the fact that that did not end careers, that story, because anytime, I mean, fentanyl is a problem. Drugs are a problem in this
Yes.
country.
Yes.
But anytime the GOP wants to glom onto something, they talk about fentanyl, which is fine. We need to talk about it. But the fact that that White House was Studio 54, come on.
And again, it lasted in the news for maybe 2
Oh,
or 3 days.
at the
And
most.
and it was gone.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
gone. So there are a lot of things I forget, but for some reason, this kind of stuff sticks with me. All right, we have news coming up next, and when we return, we have an update on California Guy. We haven't talked about him in a while. I'm very excited.
California Lando. Oh, I'm going to write a song in the vein of Seals and Crofts.
Oh, excellent.
Oh,
Work on that.
yeah.
And stay close. You're listening to Matenaer On Air. We're coming to you across the Civic Media Radio Network.
It might be unbelievable, but let's not say so long. It might just be fantastic. Don't get me wrong.
morning. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, the Calvinator on the board. Coming to you from our studio in downtown Waukesha. You can always join the conversation. You can call, you can text at 855-752-4842. That's 855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and or Twitter. Coming up at 10:50, Todd, Alba, and I are going on the road next week. Greg Bach on the road with Jane and Todd. I'm very, very excited about this.
Yeah.
You're going to be holding the fort back here.
I'll be holding it down. Calvin and I will be.
Calvin will be here too.
He'll be taking care of that room. I'll be in this room.
Absolutely. But Todd and I are heading out. I'll have all the details for you coming up at 10:50. And if you're going to be in one of the cities that we're stopping in, we're going to be in Richland Center, Eau Claire, and then Amory.
Amory. I am partly nervous. We'll talk about more in a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amory.
Thank you. Yes, Amory, my favorite place I have yet to be. And don't forget, too, coming up next hour, we have the word you need to text via the Civic Media app. It's our Scotty Summer statewide text to win contest. Really great prizes, seriously. Every hour, somebody wins that we play. Somebody wins a Wisconsin Dells Summer prize package. Every day, somebody picks up a pair of Milwaukee Brewers club level seats. And then we're going to have 2 grand prize winners who get their choice of their staycation, either in Fort Atkinson, Lake Geneva, or Door County. And even better than that, everybody who enters, and you can enter once every hour.
Yes.
There is an additional way to get a bonus entry.
What?
If you enter and then you're going to get a reply back saying you have entered successfully.
Yeah.
You click on that link and it asks you to just check your voter registration.
Holy cow.
Just to make sure that you're registered to vote. That's all.
Well,
and then you get an extra bonus entry. So everybody who enters, whether you win anything or not, are going to be eligible in the drawing for the grand prize,
and
which is cool.
Just in case, hey, you don't like apps? I get that. You don't like certain technologies? I understand that. But Jane, what if someone wants to check out whether or not they're registered to vote?
myvote.wi.gov, super easy.
Boom, right there.
Right there, you just go to that website, you put in your address, it will show you your ballots, it will show you everyone who represents you.
Your polling place.
Lots of important information. And again, sometimes, I don't know, wacky things happen to voter rolls.
Yep.
And people get dropped from voter rolls.
Yep.
And I don't care how you vote. We don't care how you vote. We just want you to vote and get involved in the process.
Yeah.
Couple of winners that we've had already.
Yeah.
Jean from Lac de Flambeau picked up a Dell's prize package. She was one of our daily winners, and also Rose from Waukesha. So congratulations. Thank you so much for listening. And Todd and I have a little unofficial friendly competition going on.
Yeah.
And who gets more entries?
What's the prize?
He crushed it. Oh, it's we finally had to come up with and put something on the line.
Yeah.
So loser has to buy the other a steak dinner somewhere in Amory at an Amory supper club.
Can I get some sides?
Sure. Can you wait till Monday?
Because it's on Todd. It'll be on Todd. We're going to win.
You feel confident? We're gonna win?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we will have the word for you next hour, right after the 11 o'clock news. And you want to text it in, and then you'll be in the running. And you can enter every hour that we play. So 7 a.m., 9 a.m., 11 a.m., 1 p.m., 3 p.m., 5 p.m., 7 p.m. Lots of chances to win.
Absolutely.
It's pretty cool. So, yes, California guy, Eric Hovde, back in the news. I want to thank TMJ4 for breaking this story last night. And I don't know if this is really all that surprising, because I do think both sides do this.
Okay.
But it makes me laugh. So a California guy, Eric Hovde, who is running against U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin, has a new television commercial out showing 3 guys just sitting around having beers at a bar.
3 just regular Wisconsinites.
You've seen these guys. You drink with these guys.
It's talking about things like you like to jump in the rivers, ice.
When's the last time you sat in the frozen lake, huh?
Hey, the last time that's probably the last time I threw an X. That's a really good time. I'm a Wisconsinite.
So in the recent ad entitled Crazy Spending, the 3 guys who are featured in this ad are 2 vice presidents and a director from Hovde Properties. They're not just people they pulled in off the street or supporters of Eric Hovde. They actually work for Eric Hovde.
Yeah.
None of the 3 men are identified at any point in this commercial. Again, is this that unusual? No. I mean, I know that there are, right? That there are campaigns have been hiring actors to portray real people, but I think there's a little disclaimer at the end.
Well, so when you hire actors nowadays, politicians and those running for office are all about the real. They want to show them it's B-roll of them shaking hands at a bar or at a barbecue, or if you're Glenn Grothman, every pancake breakfast in Wisconsin.
Well, he likes Bricky.
But like then what you do is you have people who work in industry and factories, blue collar on both sides, telling you how great this candidate is.
Right.
That, and then you control the message, you craft the message, you control it, you tell them what to say, and you go from there. If you're going to excuse me, if you're going to put together what they did, you're going to hire actors. You're going to hire people through. I'm repped by a group that does this. I probably get emails all the time saying, "Hey,
Wanna
be in a commercial?"
Yeah. Brian Kelly has done this.
Yes. So if you're like, we know that Eric Hovde has money. We know that between him and his brother, they've given like $9 million to this campaign. They could have afforded 3 scale actors to be in a bar and do this. Instead, they pull a huge blunder that got picked up immediately. And Jane hates this when I say it, but Eric Hovde, I hate to say this, I can help you make your campaign at least just a little bit better, bro, because you are stepping in it. There has not been a single either his ads get forgotten
Mhm.
or they cause controversy because he just says and or does something really dumb and very not like a seasoned political campaigner, which is fine if you're not. He's not.
Right, but it just shows, as you kind of say, that his advisors are not doing a very good job. His messaging people are not necessarily doing a bang up job.
Eric Hovde, if you are listening to this right now, he's not. If you are listening to this right now, fire that entire team
And hire Greg.
and hire me. I'll make sure you get at least 2 percentage points in the vote.
While it is not uncommon, again, this is from TMJ4, uncommon for candidates to use supporters or even paid actors to play these roles. Paid actors are usually disclosed in the fine print.
Yes.
A spokesperson for California Guy says the 3 employees were not required to take part in the ad and they were not paid for doing so. Well, that's fine, but you are his employees.
Yeah, you were asked to do it. The boss said, "Hey, do you want to do this thing?" And I bet you one, if not all 3, went like this. Okay.
Sure. No,
Now,
they went, sure, boss, we'd be happy to.
these 3 guys, they're all part of the California operation, right?
That is unclear.
Okay, I just
That's unclear because they do have a presence in Madison.
absolutely, yeah. And you know, I'm that was more just a curiosity on my. I don't really care either way. But yeah, it's
It does say that they are Wisconsin voters first and foremost.
and
So I assume they are Wisconsin guys.
and Hovde employees second.
Right.
So
Also within this story, which is worth looking at because they did talk to some just regular voters to find out about whether or not these campaign ads that they spend lots and lots of money on make any difference at all.
yeah,
And I've contended this for a long time that people block them out. And especially in Wisconsin, because we are eternally in an election cycle.
yeah.
After you've seen it 3 times, it's like, yep, I'm putting my fingers in la 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 la. I don't want to hear it anymore.
At the height of the Ron Johnson Mandela Barnes race a few years ago, I went to a wedding. We got in the hotel room. I turned the TV on, and I'm not kidding you, Jane. I may have told you this, may have texted you this back in the day. I saw an ad for one of the candidates 9 times,
Oh
all of it the same ad,
my God.
over and over and
man.
over again. I was so annoyed. It was 9 times, and that's a lot of money to drop.
Yes, it is. We're talking millions and millions and millions
Yes.
of dollars. One of the voters quoted in this column from TMJ4, Kathleen is 74. She says, I mute them all.
Yes.
They don't speak to the real issues we're all facing. They're all of them biased. I hate them. Well, you tell them, Kathleen. You're 74.
Just want to we should just buy some TV time and just be like, hey, everybody, it's Jane and Greg. How are you? What are you worried about? We're not running for anything. We don't want your money. But what's going on with you?
Well, the one thing this article does not talk about are radio ads,
Yeah.
which I personally think are much more effective than TV political ads. I
Okay.
just think there's something about the just the audio nature of it
Yeah.
that makes it that much more impactful. And that's why we're really, kind of surprised that this super PAC that
Who are they called again? What are
the
they
We
called?
Got Nothing Else super PAC
Okay.
picked our show to run some of these attack
I
ads.
feel lucky.
Do you?
Look, you mean
But again, I don't know. Does this cut through for you? I think Calvin. Let's take a listen to that first, totally real and completely legitimate attack ad.
Paid for by the We Got Nothing Else Super PAC.
Wisconsin's 2 U.S. senators couldn't be more different. Democrat Tammy Baldwin keeps getting things done for her constituents. She helped secure funding for infrastructure projects like the Blatnick Bridge and made sure Wisconsin seniors can afford life-saving insulin. But Republican Senator Ron Johnson knows exactly what needs to happen to make your life better.
I think we'd be far better off if we never passed another piece of legislation.
This November, elect the wealthy California guy who sits in frozen lakes. Just like Senator Johnson, he'll work hard when he gets to Washington, just not for you.
Paid for by the We Got Nothing Else Super PAC. Also, Senator Baldwin has no idea who we are and does not endorse this message.
Now that I think I don't know more than any television ad,
it's impactful. Hits you right here.
doesn't it? Just
Gets
gets you.
Gets you right in the breadbasket.
Cam from Nina texting in at 855-752-4842, listening in Green Bay. Cam says, the only time I've ever seen an Eric Hovde ad is when I play a game on my PC called Warframe. I use a third-party app not made by the game device that has his ads in it.
Yeah.
And it's just back-to-back Eric Hovde ads. Why is that the only reach that his ads have on me? Interesting question, that would be the only place.
Well,
but I mean, that's what everything we sign up for and everything we follow and everything we watch is designed to curate those things for us.
I don't like to get all like, it's very true. Your computer, your phone, everything that has a microphone on it that is hooked up to the internet through Wi-Fi or hardwired is listening to you and curates your ads that way. I mean, I told a story before. I was talking to someone about Earl Ingram one day. We were talking about his show, and that very afternoon, one of the first suggestions on my Audible account was Earl, the autobiography of DMX. So it's listening to you. And when I open up my computer or look up anything online, Eric Hovde is constantly in those paid ads.
Yeah.
Constantly. He is dropping so much money on this, on terrible ads.
By the way, Eric Hovde campaign, contact Greg Bach at civicmedia.us.
Kind of.
Andrew from Maine with a comment on the live stream. Political ads, the true trickle-down economics, rich people spending dollars, the lowest amount the station network has charged anyone in the last 12 months with local conglomerates. Yeah, they spend millions and millions and millions of dollars. And the fact that, as that woman was quoted in that article, I mute them all.
Yeah.
I can't take it. I can't take it. And it is especially bad here in Wisconsin.
Yes, it's awful. And we're never, like you said, we're never not in an election cycle. We're never. It's like we did something wrong. Is this a punishment for Scott Walker?
Well, we're going to talk about this because it is interesting being in a swing state. And I think either on the one hand, it's super annoying because elections never end. On the other hand, does this make us more powerful? And how can we wield that power? We'll talk about that some other time.
Okay.
Stay close. When we return, Jane and Todd on the road. All the details coming up. Really hope you can join us. Keep it right here on Civic Media Radio Network.
California dreaming on such a winter's day.
be heard.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say.
Good morning and welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jay Matenaer, Greg Bach, Sweet Cal B on the board, coming to you from our studio in downtown Waukesha. Join the conversation. Call, text 855-752-4842. That's 855-CIVIC. Or leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. We have a jam-packed hour coming up next hour. We're going to be talking to Maureen Bula, who runs a farm here in Wisconsin, and she is part of an event with it's WeWiC. It's Wisconsin Women in Conservation, dedicated to women in farming and agriculture and all things conservation in Wisconsin. So we're going to find out about the farm tour and dinner at Beulah's Pleasant Family Farm in Baraboo. That's coming up June 10th. We'll have all the details from Maureen. And if you are a woman in conservation, you'd like to learn more, I highly encourage you to stick around. They do all kinds of events all throughout the year, which is pretty cool. JS Online sports guru J.R. Radcliffe is going to join us at 11:33. And then Weather and Wine with Brittany Merlot, Civic Media meteorologist. She can tell us if we're finally going to get a chance to dry out. I think we're finally caught up.
I hope so.
I think we're finally caught up with rain.
I need to mow my lawn.
You and lots of other people as well.
I told you that though I mowed it the other, 4 hours of mowing, right? Like I took care of the prairie over a course of a weekend.
It took that long.
It took that long. That's my fault. That's absolutely my fault. But now I'm trying to get back out there on a regular schedule. And then we went out of town and I'm like,
and then it's been raining. If so, Brittany will update us at 11:50 with what kind of weather we got coming up for the next couple of weeks. Hopefully next week will be nice.
Yeah.
Friend and colleague Todd Alba and I are hitting the road.
Yeah, you are.
On the road with Jane and Todd starts next Tuesday.
Yep.
We're going to be here still in Waukesha on Monday.
Yes.
Then I'm going to drive to Madison.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do our shows high above State Street in the Civic Media radio headquarters in downtown Madison, right by the Capitol. It's really a cool place.
It's beautiful.
So we're going to do the show from there on Tuesday, and then Todd and I are driving to Richland Center the next day. So next Wednesday, Todd and I will be broadcasting 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., both of our shows, all 4 hours. Todd and I will be in Richland Center next Wednesday at the Richland Center Band Shelter in Crosscup Park.
That's fun.
Yeah. So if people want to bring a lawn chair and come and sit down, we'll try and get some coffee. Maybe you want to bring us coffee. That's always nice. I'm not sure. Todd is the one who has been setting all of this up, and I really applaud him for this because he's been getting our locations. He's been booking our hotels and all that stuff. So we would love to meet you. That's the whole point of going out on this tour is getting a chance to sit down with folks, find out all the things you love about Wisconsin, all the things we can celebrate together about Wisconsin, because I really believe from my bottom of my heart, we have more of those things in common than we do have reasons to hate each other.
I absolutely agree with you.
So Wednesday, we're in Richland Center at the Richland Center Band Shelter in Crosscup Park. On Thursday, we will be in Eau Claire. This is cool. Shift Cyclery and Coffee Bar. So we'll be there from 10 to 2 in Eau Claire if you want to stop by and have a cup of coffee. And then Friday, we wrap everything up in my favorite place I've never been, Amory.
Oh,
nice, Calvin.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to throw,
wreck my Amory dreams.
Yeah. But what I'm trying, I have you at least tamped certain expectations. Like, you are so excited to go, and I'm very excited for you to go. I want Amory to be everything you hope for and more. But what if it isn't? I'm afraid about that.
It will be.
Okay, there it is.
I have no qualms about this. Whatever I'm going to love it.
Yeah.
I just know.
Yeah.
And if not, I'm not going to tell you that.
So
why
I went
would
to
I do
Amory.
that?
It sucks.
No, it's going to be great.
No, I'm sure it's I can't think of any cool puns, but it's great.
It's going to be wonderful.
Yeah.
So in Amory, next Friday, we're going to be at the Danielson stage at Michael Park, in another place where people can come out and join us and watch the show as it happens. And Todd's got all the equipment, and we're going to have guests. I believe we're going to be talking to a former Miss Amory.
Oh, is her name Amy?
And I don't think so.
I hope so.
Next Friday. And we're going to be learning about the Driftless region because we're there in Richland Center on Wednesday. And then Thursday, I have never heard of this. Again, I apparently was raised in a closet or in a forest by wolves.
No, you were apparently raised in a where?
Coop. Coob.
What's that?
Coob is a game.
Oh, Coop?
And Eau Claire is like the Coob capital of Wisconsin.
Is it spelled C-U-B-E?
It's K-U-B-B.
K?
K-U-B-B. I have never heard of Coob. So we have someone from the local Eau Claire chapter who's going to be stopping by when Todd and I are there next week.
That just looks like a hazard.
We'll
It's
find
like full
out
of pointy, sharp. I grew up in the days of jarts.
So did I.
This is interesting.
Yeah. So we're going to learn all about Coob and how one plays Coob. Excuse me. Pardon me. Next Thursday in Eau Claire, when we're at the Shift Cyclery and Coffee Bar, he's going to be coming in to talk to us about it. So hopefully we can have a little demonstration
All
as
right.
well. Next hour, it is our statewide Scotty Summer Text to Win contest. So
Heck
we're going
yeah.
to have a word for you right after the 11 o'clock news, around 11:06. You need to text that word via the Civic Media app.
Yeah.
So download the app right now. It's free. You can find it wherever you get your apps. Download the app. And then once we give you the word, that hour's word, no matter where you're listening, if you're in Oshkosh or La Crosse or in Racine or wherever you're listening.
Racine.
It's not the same. It doesn't fly the same. You can text that word wherever you're listening, and then you're going to be running for all these great prizes. Todd and I do have a little friendly competition going on to see who
How many
gets the most entries.
competitions you two have?
So he smoked us on Monday, and then Tuesday we beat him by 1.
Yeah.
Yesterday he beat us by 6.
Oh, I don't like that at all. Folks, where are you at right now? Where are you at right now?
So I have some suggestions for some of the words he should get next week
Yeah, I heard about this.
for
Yes,
the
yes.
contest. So
Love it.
I'll share that with you. I don't know if they're going to accept them.
Yeah.
But that's all on the way. So stay with us. And again, you can always call, you can text, you can leave a message on the live stream. We love hearing from you. I mean that most sincerely. It makes the show so much more fun and it keeps us going, keeps us on our toes. News is coming up next. Stay close. You're listening to Matenaer On Air. We're coming to you across the vast Civic Media Radio Network.
Bring me down, can't none bring me down. The love is too high to bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said, clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth.
Hi, Maureen. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. You sound good. How do you pronounce your last name?
Bula?
All right. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you.
Good morning and welcome to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, and Calvin Butenhoff coming to you live from our studio in downtown Waukesha. Thank you so very much for joining us. If you want to join the show, you can leave a comment on the live stream if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. We are going to have our guest join us in just a moment to talk about WeWick, Women in Wisconsin Conservation. First, though, it is that time, Greg Bach.
What time, Jane?
It is time for our Scotty Summer statewide text to win contest. There, every hour that we play, and we play this every weekday this week, all through next week at 7 a.m., 9, 11, 1, 3, 5, and 7 p.m. Those are the hours you can enter. So one person every hour picks up a Wisconsin Dells Summer Prize Package. Every day, one person picks up a pair of Milwaukee Brewers Club level seats, nice seats.
Yeah, very nice.
And then
seats.
we're going to have two grand prize winners who get their choice of a staycation. We even give you gas to get there and back.
That's the thing that really gets me. We're giving you gas.
I know, because we want you to have a nice time. So you can pick from Fort Atkinson, Lake Geneva, Door County, and every entry, whether or not you win or not, every entry is going into those grand prize drawings. So everyone's going to be entered.
How do you get an extra entry?
You can get a little bonus entry. Once we give you the word and you text it in, you will get a confirmation back. You click on that.
Yep.
And all we want you to do is go check your voter registration and make sure you're registered to vote.
That's it.
So it's an easy way to get an extra entry. And again, Todd Alba and I have this little unspoken competition going on.
I want sides. I want sides.
Andrew in Maine says it's already rigged. Okay, the word this hour.
Yes.
Is bubbler.
A controversial word, too.
Good word.
It's a great word, but it's a controversial. Wait for it. And here it comes. I can feel. Yes. Oh, by the way, can I just tell you a really quick story?
Yeah.
yesterday during the show while I was convalescing, actually the past 2 days, I had to take my smartwatch off
Because of what? Because all the texts that were
because
coming
all
in?
the texts coming in between you and Todd just going off. I'm like, I got to throw this thing out.
Bubbler is the word. Use the Civic Media app to text the word bubbler, Bubbler. You have until noon today to text that in and be in the drawing for some of these great, great prizes. We've had a whole bunch of winners already, so you can be among them. And I don't know, I did offer a couple suggestions for words that Todd should have next week.
Like what?
I don't know. I think chrysanthemum is a good word.
Chrysanthemum spelled perfectly.
Yeah, it's
Has
an
to be spelled
easy to spell word. Everybody can text that in.
That's a great word. I think let's put that on the board.
Yeah, whether or not, I mean, Aaron Carreno is the one who decides which words get used, whether or not he's going to take my suggestion.
You mean the very handsome and capable Aaron Carreno?
that same one?
Exactly.
So maybe chrysanthemum for Todd next week.
There you go.
It's a thought.
Yeah.
Right now, though, the word is bubbler, Bubbler. Use the Civic Media app, text it in for our Scotty Summer statewide text to win contest.
And if you text water fountain, we are blocking you.
Yes, that's true. Then we know you're from Illinois.
Yeah.
2024 Field Day Series with Wisconsin Women in Conservation kicks off with a farm tour and dinner at Bula's Pleasant Valley Farm in Baraboo. It is June 10th from 2:30 to 6 p.m. And the woman herself behind Pleasant Valley Farm in Baraboo, Maureen Bula, is joining us. Good morning, Maureen. Thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, tell us a little bit about your background, Maureen, and how you got into this and how you got involved with WWIC, which is Wisconsin Women in Conservation.
I grew up in Madison, so I am not a farm kid. Met this wonderful guy at UW-Madison, and he was a farm kid. We ended up in Baraboo thanks to his job, and eventually found 160 acres that has become home, built a home and a farm. And along that road, I taught for 31 years. I taught first grade in Baraboo, loved every minute of it.
You're
And
a
we all-
saint for being a teacher. Thank you for being a teacher.
I still miss the little guys. But
Do
I
you?
guess, yeah, oh, absolutely. The best thing is seeing the world through the eyes of a child. And we still get to do that on the farm. We bring out kindergartners from Baraboo every year to learn about the farm and animals. So we have fun one way or another. But our journey has been fantastic. My husband worked full-time, I worked full-time. And from the time our kids were little, we've had lambs, beef cattle, and pigs, and chickens. And I guess we enjoyed eating well. And for a long time, we were organic. When you're raising these little ones, you want to make sure they're getting the very best food. And as a teacher, I saw a lot of times kids coming to school and working on Pop-Tarts and a Mountain Dew. And that doesn't go real far. So
No, it really
I'm very passionate about getting good food to people. And that's what we do.
Well, I give you so much credit for being able to handle all of that. Both of you working full time and a farm and small children. The amount of juggling you must have done is truly impressive. And I'm sure that's not an uncommon experience for a vast majority of Wisconsin farmers.
Oh, that's very true. I think that's very true. Since retiring, though, both of our kids graduated from college and went into conservation, which
He did.
That's wonderful.
it's amazing. So here we have these two kids that have a vision, having grown up on an organic farm. We went conventional. I said non-GMO. If we're going to be conventional, it has to be non-GMO. And we've always maintained 5 acres is organic where gardens are. But our kids had visions as well. And I always like to say they're doing a good job of raising us now, because we have this 160 acres that we can take and we can be regenerative. And the things that I see on our farm, The food that we eat is fantastic. We now raise grass-fed beef and lamb. We raise pastured eggs and pastured broilers, and as well as Berkshire hogs. The hogs don't get out yet. Hopefully they don't get out, period. But we don't let them out on the pasture. We have goals. It's really, really neat to see how food changes and the land changes. We're no-till, we plant cover crops, and the soil is healthier. And it is amazing. A couple of years ago, the kids convinced me to go from organic garden to a no-till organic garden. And I used to haul out the rototiller and till my gardens, and weeds were becoming such an issue that it was becoming impossible. I would lose crops due to weeds. You couldn't find them in there. They couldn't compete. The change that I've seen the last 3 years in my gardens is spectacular.
That's so interesting.
spent
That's so
years-
interesting, Maureen. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I thought the whole point of tilling was to chop up all these terrible things and then, you break them down and they go away. But I would assume all you're doing is retilling all these bad things into the soil over and over.
Absolutely. And tilling also kills a whole microbiome that lives in the soil. You have all these things that help plants access good nutrients, everything needs a healthy, balanced diet, including plants. When we till the soil, we take that opportunity away from them. We kill a lot of things in the soil. There are fungi and bacteria that are critical to growing healthy plants. And I know we've said we want to find a lab where we could actually test the nutrient density in our plants, our garden produce. And then that's also what our cattle and sheep and chickens are eating as well. And lo and behold, somebody came forward and handed me a couple of studies that, hey, I'm spot on. The no-till is giving us so much benefit in terms of nutrient value to the food that we eat, and then the food that we're giving to our cattle and sheep, our livestock.
Maureen, so I have this wonderful fascination with our farms, our farmers, and our farming history in Wisconsin. But something you're just speaking about now is finding out these new practices that kind of do away with what seems to be decades long old practices, just seem to be the norm. You tilled the land. I mean, that's not even just a farming term. That's a common phrase now, tilling the land. How with all the technology, and especially if they're doing conservation and taking care of the earth, what is the rate of these changes? Like, how many changes do you see just in your daily life versus farming in general? Like, no, we're just going to change the practice. That helps the ecosystem. That helps the biodiversity. That helps the land and helps the climate. How do you like? What is that? Can you speak to that? If I'm making any sense at all?
I think that what we're doing, it's new in a way, but it also isn't. I think Native Americans planted differently than what we're doing with tilling. I think we have to take what we learn, and people have come across no-till, and cover crops are really important. Keeping the ground covered. You look at the loss of soil off our farmland that's tilled and worked repeatedly in the spring. There was an accident last year, I believe it was last summer, in Illinois, central Illinois. There was a windstorm. And on the interstate, there was a crash that took lives because of a dust storm that came up. Tilled land, amounts of, and you have a modern day dust storm with people traveling 70, 80 miles an hour. That's not a good thing. So that, and we're on the Baraboo River, and you look at the mud that flows. It's a cloudy river, and a lot of that's because of farming practices. There goes our soil. There is not a whole lot of soil left on farms.
Maureen Bula is our guest. We're going to continue our conversation. We have a very, very short break. If you can stay with us for just a couple of minutes, Maureen.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. You're listening to Matenaer On Air. Stay close. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Here's to the farmer that plants the fields in the spring, that turn from green to that harvest honey. Hold one up for the banker downtown that got him on his feet with handshake of money.
Good morning. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, the Calvinator on the board, coming to you from our studio in downtown Waukesha. It is that hour, the text to win hour on the Civic Media app. Here is this hour's word, bubbler.
Bubbler.
Bubbler, not plural.
Yep.
Not flubber,
Not plubber.
not plubber, blubber, bubbler. Jeez. Bubbler, Bubbler, is the word to text in right now to be entered in for all of these great prizes you can win. Part of our Scotty Summer statewide text to win contest, Bubbler, until 12 o'clock today, Bubbler. And yes, you smarty, it's a drinking fountain, you cheeseheads. Okay, fine.
It's a bubbler. It's a bubbler. It's done.
And everyone knows it's a bubbler.
It's a bubbler. It's soda, and I'm done.
All right. Our guest, very excited to be talking to Maureen Bula, who is the Pleasant Valley Farm in Baraboo. They're having a big event, kicking off the Wisconsin Women in Conservation event, their 2024 Field Day Series, with a farm tour and dinner at Bula's Pleasant Valley Farm in Baraboo, June 10th from 2:30 to 6 p.m. It's for all women identifying growers, landowners, farmers, farm workers, land managers, conservation professionals. The event is free, but you should pre-register. We will get those links in our show notes after the show is over. So, Maureen, what is going to happen at this event for the first field day of this year?
We get to welcome all these wonderful people out to the farm and share what it is that we do, the conservation practices that we've put in place on our farm, critical to good food. And we get to share some of that good food at a dinner. Some of that will be coming from the farm. We have burgers, and I know there's something with maple syrup and something with rhubarb. So that's all coming.
Come on, Maureen.
Hey, I'll make a special batch of those maple butter bars someday and share them with you. They're good
That
stuff.
sounds really good.
You heard that? It's on the podcast. I can refer to this anytime I want.
We have witnesses now, Maureen. We have witnesses.
like
I'm curious. I'm curious, Maureen. What do you think? I'm a city kid. I was raised. I grew up in a small town, but I still grew up in the town. What are some of people's biggest misconceptions about Wisconsin's farmers?
I guess I have trouble with the phrase that Wisconsin or that America's farmers feed the world. A lot of farmers grow corn and soybeans, and personally, I don't survive off corn syrup or soybeans. I think small farms are critical to feeding us, and I think we need to pay attention to where good food comes from and the food that we're eating. And it's really important. It's really important. Farmers, there are a lot of farmers that are actually hungry. They don't have food. If you grew up, or if you're working a farm that's producing only soybeans and corn, maybe hay, what are you really able to eat? On our farm, I'm able to go out to the chicken coop, grab my eggs. I have meat from our livestock in the freezer, and the garden's out front, and I have honey because we keep bees. We have the maple syrup. We eat well. We eat well.
I just think it's important, and that's why we like talking to people like you and who are smaller farmers in Wisconsin, to get a better appreciation of all you are doing and instituting these new practices, in these new conservation practices and new methods that are making things better for all of us and for the nutrition for all of us, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we enjoy what we do. We say we're retired, and I say that just means you get tired all over again. We do sleep really great. But the challenges that we face are usually challenges that we enjoy figuring things out and trying to problem solve. That's true for any job that anybody has. And I am not putting down large corn and soybean farms. That's necessary too. But small farms, we can do a lot to take care of local people. Local people can find us. And we have a store actually on our farm. We just started that last summer. We opened.
Ooh.
So we have a store of our produce and our products, as well as some other goodies.
Well, we'll have to come visit that on another road trip. Maureen, that's actually, I'm glad you brought that up regarding the larger farms. That's one thing I feel like, we as non-farmers, city dwellers, the lay people in that world, we tend to take the small farm, put you on our shoulders, and act like we are the ones saying, protect the small farmers, when really we need to protect the farmers. It's not, I don't feel like it should be, actually, let me rephrase that. From what I've heard people say who work in the community, in your world, it's not us versus them, big versus small. It's all of us together. We all need to be protected, taken care of, and respected the way that our politicians and we claim to espouse.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is a rugged life. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I wouldn't go back and live in Madison ever again. I really enjoy the life that we've built and the farming life that we've got. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Maureen Bula is our guest with Bula's Pleasant Valley Farm in Baraboo, and they are having an event June 10th from 2:30 to 6 p.m., the 2024 Field Day, in conjunction with WEWIC, which is Wisconsin Women in Conservation. We will include a link to this. If you still want to try and get registered, you do need to get registered so you know how many people are going to be showing up on your farm. Just real quickly, because we're just about out of time, Maureen, did you ever have a favorite chicken, and what was its name?
Brunhilde. Yes.
Brunhilde.
I love it.
She was not always pleasant, hence the name Brunhilde. I'm sorry if there's a Brunhilde out there that you just insulted, but
we just lost our Brunhilde demo.
Very special girl.
Yeah.
A very special chicken. I love that. Maureen Bula, it's been a delight talking to you. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful event on June 10th, and I'm sure we will talk to you again a little bit further down the road. Maybe we'll even come and see you sometime.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maureen. Maureen Bula, again, with Pleasant Valley Farm in Baraboo, June 10th is their event from 2:30 to 6 p.m. We will put that link in our show notes at the end of the show. News is coming up next. Don't forget, you have until noon to text the word bubbler, Bubbler. No plural, just bubbler, Bubbler. And you sassy folks, don't even text in water fountain because it's not going to get you anywhere.
Nope.
News is next. Stay close. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Here's to the farmer that loves his day in the sun. Won't sell that old half-ton. Nobody knows better about a hard-earned dollar. Just tell him how far he's gotta go, and he'll go farther. Here's to the farmer. Here's to simple fact is plainly obvious to see. We're gonna kick your collective posterior.
Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Calvin B. on the board, coming to you from our studio in downtown Waukesha. You can leave a comment on the live stream if you are watching on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform that Elon continues to actively ruin. We are joined every other Thursday. Now it's 2 Thursdays in a row. I screwed up my calendars a
We
little
have
bit.
no scheduling.
He is the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel sports guru. J.R. Radcliffe is here to talk all things sports. Thank you for being here, JR. Thank you for making this work.
Hey,
I got to
of
do
course.
one real quick thing before we start chatting. This is the hour for our Scotty Summer statewide text to win contest. So you have until noon via the Civic Media app to text the word bubbler, Bubbler. Text the word bubbler via the Civic Media app, and you are in the running for some great prizes. One winner per hour while we play for a Wisconsin Dell Summer Prize Package. Congratulations to Kathy from Chippewa Falls and John from Oshkosh, who picked those up. Every day, one winner per day, a pair of Milwaukee Brewers Club level seats. Greg has used them. You said they're really nice
They're
seats.
wonderful seats.
And then we have 2 fabulous grand prizes. You get to pick your staycation, and we even give you gas to get there and back. Fort Atkinson Cottage on the Lake, Lake Geneva at Harbor Shores, Door County at the Ridges Inn and Suites, and all entries, whether or not you win the daily or the hourly prize, everybody's going to be in the grand prize drawing, so you have lots of chances to win.
Mm-hmm.
And you can enter every hour that we play. It's a different text word every hour, all through next week.
And you can get a special extra entry.
You can get a bonus entry. Once you text the word bubbler via the app, you will get a response. And if you click on that, that will take you to, we want to make sure that you're registered to vote.
Yep.
Essentially.
This is not partisan.
It's not partisan. It's not any, nope. We just want to make sure that people are involved in the democratic process and get involved to vote. So if you want to click on that, that will give you an extra bonus entry.
There you go.
And then Todd, Alda and I, our shows do have a little happy competition going on for who gets the most entries. That's why I think next week one of his words should be chrysanthemum. I've suggested it. I don't know if that's going to fly or not.
Yeah, I mean,
I just put it out there.
Or in the spirit of
that?
Wisconsin words, Oconomowoc, Magwanago, Wauwatosa. There's a lot of options here.
There's lots of possibilities.
Yeah.
Thank you, JR. We'll bring you in on this next year.
Sounds good.
You get a percentage of the winnings, son.
Love to
Absolutely.
stack the deck. Yes.
All right. Bubbler, Bubbler, not blubber, not flubber. It's bubbler, Bubbler. All right, let's talk sports balls, JR. And this is something, Greg, that Greg has wanted to talk about for a while, and it kind of got away from us for a couple of weeks. But it's regarding baseball and baseball stats.
Yeah, so the MLB has decided to integrate the stats from the very long now defunct Negro leagues of the late 19th century and early 20th century into the MLB stats, which is going to change the direction of, baseball leaders as far as like hitters and whatnot. And I just saw a quote from Willie Mays. He goes, because of that, I got 10 more hits on my record, and I wanted to talk to you about this, JR. It's a pretty big thing they're doing.
Yeah, it's a huge undertaking. And what we saw last week when this happened is kind of the big line items are things like Josh Gibson is now at the front of various stat categories. And it was already, I think, for people who understood the history of baseball, he's already a name of a guy that might be one of the greatest baseball players that ever lived. Mm-hmm. But now he's being compared to the guys who played what we consider mainstream Major League Baseball. He is statistically one of the greatest players who ever lived. For the most part, everything else, I don't think it'll be outwardly noticeable. It's just when you do searches or when you're trying to, find who is the best at this, the best at that. The Negro Leagues are now counted in the same way as Major League Baseball. Again, what we considered mainstream. This was a very difficult process. It took a lot of years to get this right because it's just so tricky to get the stats. It's about figuring out which leagues deserved to be considered major league, and that comes down to competition. That comes down to schedule. A lot of these leagues played different schedules, different years. Some teams would join leagues one year and drop out another year. It's a lot like how youth sports are organized today. You got kids coming in from different communities and then leaving. Like, how do you compare that? And there was this practice of barnstorming, which I think most people are familiar with, but sometimes you'd have a league schedule and then you'd have sort of an exhibition schedule where you'd go out and you'd, play anybody who wanted to have you. And that wasn't maybe a major league game. So you could only count the 60 league games. And how do you compare a 60 league schedule to an 162 game schedule? There's a lot to consider. It is notable too that they had previously done this in the 60s where they added leagues that were pre-major league, that did not the racially segregated leagues, but just precursors to MLB. They added those into the database as well. So there is a process here. Hank Aaron played in the Negro leagues. He hit 5 home runs. Those don't count because that was after a certain point where they felt like those leagues fell below major league caliber. So it requires a level of research, which leagues go in, which leagues don't. So I find that process fascinating, but it is a really nice way to level the playing field and say, look, what these guys were doing, they were playing like full-fledged professional baseball, what we think of it, and we have to count it as everything else. I think that's great.
And some of these guys, I mean, I can't talk about it enough, but the baseball documentary by Ken Burns, it's 24 hours long.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Some of these guys in these leagues were playing 3 games a day.
Mm-hmm.
What?
They were doing double headers in the morning and early afternoon. They pack up, they travel, and they do a night game. And by the way, just as a little aside, I think last week celebrated the first night game in MLB history, which I believe took place in Cincinnati or Cleveland. That had been happening in that league, in the Negro leagues, for years. They'd strapped those lights onto their buses and taken them with them. And nothing against MLB, but like just the ingenuity and the doggedness of wanting to play baseball. It's absolutely right that they're being recognized for who they are, because Josh Gibson is probably, in my opinion, top 5 baseball player who ever lived, and now is getting the flowers.
Yeah. And, we're still talking about an apples to oranges comparison on some level, and forget even the Negro leagues, just, Hugh Duffy, who hit 438 or 441 year, depending on what stats you consult. Had been the greatest single season batting average. Well, that's because it was different then, right? It's fewer games. It's just different standards of what you consider a hit versus an error versus quality. Like you're not going to always be able to make a straight 1-to-1 comparison between the leagues of before modern era and now.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. That they were ahead of their time in many ways. They're, had an emphasis on showmanship in a way that I think is something we like the Savannah Bananas kind of capture that now. It's sort of an equivalent with the way they barnstorm and just try to change things up, make things interesting and have characters, have personalities, guys who were just truly great. Satchel Paige claiming that he threw all these no-hitters. I don't know if there's documentation of that necessarily, but
there's no documentation of his age.
Right. Oh. Well, and the documentation is the thing. Like so much of this stuff exists in attics in North Carolina. It's not stuff that's just available. They have to really, really dig. I talked to the MLB historian back in 2020, December of 2020, when this was announced that this was coming. And it took until 2024, even when they knew it was going to happen, it took until now for them to just get all their ducks in a row and make sure that they had all the right stats implemented in their database. It's a really cool thing for baseball nerds.
Well, and I guess it's certainly better late than never.
Yes.
It only took them, several decades, but they got it done. So that's a good thing. If you're just joining us, J.R. Radcliffe is our guest. He's the sports guru for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. While we're talking about baseball, Brewers not doing so, having such a good week.
Whatever.
Yeah. It's been a rough start. They went to Philadelphia. The Phillies have the most wins in baseball right now. They've played a very, very easy schedule, but the Phillies showed why it doesn't really matter the schedule they're playing. They're going to be formidable, and that's what they're pitching. Their pitching is off the charts good. They didn't even face the Brewers in these 3 games that they lost, where they scored a grand total of 2 runs. They did not even face the guy that right now is kind of near the front of the Cy Young conversation, although I don't know if he'll stay there in Ranger Suarez. Zach Wheeler's sensational. Aaron Nola sensational. Christopher Sanchez, who's just kind of a guy, is also awesome. That's a tough team to play right now. So they ran into a hot team. I think the offense, strained a little bit. They're not as good as we saw the week against Chicago teams where they beat up on the Cubs and the White Sox. They're not that good. They're still good. Their offense shouldn't be discouraged completely by 3 games, but it is a reminder that they're not going to run away with anything, that this division is still not something that they're just going to, take and run with. They're going to have to scratch and claw a little bit, and they're going to need to show a little bit better in Detroit.
JR, I sent you notes like 2 hours ago saying you disagree with everything that people say regarding the Brewers, and you only say nice things. You only say nice things.
Did I say something nice by accident there? No,
It was just so great to see 7.5 games.
Say what?
It was really great to see 7.5 games ahead of
Right.
like the Cardinals and the Cubs, and I know it'll be fine, but
It's a fleeting it's a fleeting victory because it's a long season.
that's baseball.
There is the only one time in Brewers history that they've had a lead that significant and not won the division. That was back in 2017. They were up 8.5 games at one point, and that was later in June, and they didn't end up winning the division. But most teams that get out to that big of a lead, like they do not fold. The teams that have gotten 13 above 500, which is where the Brewers were, no Brewers team has ever finished below 500 after getting that high up, no matter what time of the season it is. So, like, we are talking about a team that has shown itself to be a good team and to a team that should be favored at this point to win the division. But it is a super long season, and we the Cubs aren't playing well. The Cardinals aren't playing well. They're gonna have their streaks too, where they're playing well, and I do think the Brewers will bounce back in Detroit. We're talking about very different animal in terms of pitching, even though Detroit's pitching is pretty good, and that is a team playing well. But I think once you see Friday and Saturday, they'll figure some things out offensively, and it'll be all right again.
All right, we'll switch from baseball to basketball, and the NBA Finals get underway.
Yeah, finally. It's been like
the NBA Finals.
Yeah, the NBA Finals are here. It's Boston against Dallas. Some former Buck is going to win an NBA title. It's either going to be Drew Holiday, who of course was with the Bucks the last 3 years and helped them win a title, or it's going to be Jason Kidd, the coach of the Dallas Mavericks, who, didn't have the best tenure in Milwaukee. There's some debate as to how much he influenced young Giannis Antetokounmpo's career and kind of put him on a path towards success. But, Giannis speaks very highly of Jason Kidd. He's a bit controversial in Milwaukee, but he's got the Mavericks into the NBA Finals. It did take a long time to get here since the conference finals were both sweep. Well, one was a sweep, one was a 5-gamer. But this is going to be, I think, really interesting. And I know Bucks fans, they probably don't love the Celtics and they don't want to see good things for the Celtics, but it's so hard not to cheer for Drew Holiday. He was so good here and still means so much in the community. And it would be really cool to see him win his second ring in 4 years. That's pretty impressive.
Okay, so personally, I've been a Celtics hater since back when the Bucks weren't even good. I hated the Celtics since Doc Rivers was the coach there.
Okay.
So this is a complicated series for me because I'm not a fan of Jason Kidd either.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll be rooting for the Mavericks because I am a fan of Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, even though Kyrie Irving has a complicated history.
Isn't Kyrie Irving crazy?
Yeah, he's nuts, but he's very fun to watch on the floor.
Okay.
So, all these complicated emotions I had no idea could be involved with basketball.
Well, once your team's out of it, you have to invent reasons to care.
You have to invest in someone else, right?
I get it. I try to talk about the French Open. Nobody cares.
It's on clay. You slide around. It's fun. I will say.
All right.
Sacre bleu. There is a story by my colleague Ben Steele who wrote about all the Wisconsin connections between these two teams, and there actually are a lot. Like Michael Finley, who's a very famous Wisconsin men's basketball player, has a front office position with the Mavericks. He's a big deal. Former Buck Jared Dudley is on the coaching staff there. Tracy Webster, who's a old-time Wisconsin. I say old-time. We're talking like 80s here. We're not going too far back, early 90s even maybe. Tracy Webster's a scout with the Mavericks. He wrote a story about a Greendale High School kid who went to Whitewater and is now like a data analyst with the Boston Celtics. He kind of like begged, borrowed, and stealed to get a job in the NBA, and Boston liked what he was doing, and now he's trying to help Boston get a ring. It's a pretty cool story that actually posted this morning at JS Online. So there are Wisconsin connections if you want to hitch your wagon to anything here, and if you want to cheer for the referees or the media right, things like that happen. That's fine.
Yeah, yay, basketball. Sorry. I tried.
J.R. Radcliffe joins us every other week. Sometimes he joins us every week. Who knows what next week will bring? He's a reporter for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Thank you so very much, J.R. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
See you soon, guys.
Stay close, and don't forget, you have until noon to text the word bubbler, BUBBLER, via the Civic Media app. Stay close. This is Matenaer On Air, coming to you across the Civic Media Radio Network.
Sports team will soon suffer swift defeat. That theory's backed up by empirical evidence. We're gonna grind up your guys into burger meat. Again, of course, we're speaking in the figurative sense. What's the use of even going through the motions when you know that you're gonna lose anyhow? So why don't you save us all some time and give up?
Good morning. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Dr. Slide on the board, coming to you from our studio in downtown Waukesha. You still have 10 minutes to enter a statewide text to win summer Scotty contest, some great prizes. Every hour that we play, somebody picks up a Wisconsin Dells summer prize pack. Every day, somebody gets a pair of Milwaukee Brewers club level seats. 2 grand prize winners. You get to pick where you want your staycation, either in Fort Atkinson, Lake Geneva, Door County. We'll give you gas to get there and back. The word today is bubbler, Bubbler. Good word. Like that word.
I love that word.
I love that word. Bubbler, Bubbler. Text in that word before noon. Your next chance will be coming up with the one and only and our friend and colleague Todd Alba in the 1 o'clock hour. I've heard the word is chrysanthemum. I'm not sure if that's true.
I heard it was rhododendron.
That could be the word too. You'll have to stick around and join Todd at 1 o'clock to find out. But right now, text the word bubbler, Bubbler, and good luck. She joins us every Thursday at this time for a little weather and wine. It's Civic Media meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Good morning, girl. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm getting soaked up here in Wausau. How are you guys doing down south?
Is it still raining up there?
It did. We just had a really heavy downpour, some spotty showers in the Northwoods, but looks bright by you.
It is down here in Waukesha, and it has dropped about 15 degrees. I love this kind of weather, but we have like gale force winds going on in downtown Waukesha. It's really windy out there.
And no one can trust Gail. She eats your yogurt in the fridge. That's a terrible joke. I'm sorry. I just think whenever someone says gale force, I'm like, who's this Gail lady? Move on.
But
sorry.
it is really, really breezy down here.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, we're seeing gusts up to 35 to even 40 miles per hour. So, and the
Is
bad
that
part
statewide, or is that just kind of south central Wisconsin?
that is statewide. Statewide.
Dang.
I know. Yeah. So some just gusty winds. It's really just, a blast of reminder that it is spring and we can get cool. And here we
Yes.
are.
I saw flood warnings this morning coming in on my phone. What was that about?
Oh, it takes a minute for all of the water to be absorbed in the ground and go to the river basins, and then it slowly rises those creeks and streams and rivers. And so that's kind of what's happening, is that delayed effect from the past 2 days of heavy downpours.
All that rain.
Yeah.
Goodness.
So are our farmers finally gonna get a chance to dry out? And I think just even people trying to work in their gardens and mow their lawns, it's like, I can't get anything done. It keeps raining.
I agree. So today, mainly north, scattered showers. If you're south and especially west, you can probably cut the grass today. You're fine. You're good to go. Tomorrow is going to actually be partly sunny, still breezy, still cooler, but it will be mainly dry. So good news there. The next shot of rain does move in overnight tomorrow night and into early Saturday morning. We are looking at some heavy totals, maybe a half an inch to an inch through central Wisconsin. Right now, it looks like La Crosse, Eau Claire area through the Fox Valley. So way north and way south might avoid some of those heavier totals. But Saturday morning through the afternoon, a wet one. Then we're good to go for the rest of the weekend. And next week looks pretty dry up until maybe Tuesday. Looks like some rain pushing in. So
That's just Monday's going to be dry. Then after that, it's going to be Monday's going to be dry. Tuesday, wet again.
And then Wednesday and Thursday will be dry. For now, we'll see. Now we're pushing a little too far for me to be too accurate.
To forecast that far out, obviously, because things are very changeable. We're going to need a more specific forecast from you next week, Brittany, because Todd and I are going on the road. Todd Alba and I are going on the road. So on Tuesday, we're going to be in Madison. On Wednesday, we'll be in Richland Center. On Thursday, we're going to be in Eau Claire. And then on Friday, we're going to be my favorite place I've never been yet, Amory.
Ooh.
We're wrapping things up in Amory. So if you could give us a good stretch of weather as we're working our way up the state, because we're going to be at some parks, because we're hoping people will come out and watch the show and join the conversation. So hopefully we'll have some nice weather.
Brittany, are you near any of those places?
No, you're completely missing me. Why?
Because you're in Wausau, right, Brittany?
Yeah, right smack dab in the middle, and you're going around.
Well, don't worry, we're coming.
Intentional. It's not intentional.
Next a week from Wednesday, we'll come right to your house.
Okay.
We'll bring pizza.
You know, when the Twisters movie comes out, I want everyone to gather in Wausau.
And I'm losing you. I'm losing you, everybody.
Stop.
The connections.
Not a fan of the Twister remake, are we?
Well, I've never seen it. I just don't need to. Just because you add an S to it doesn't make it intriguing.
No, I have to see it. I just can't not. No matter how Hollywooded it is.
We'll get a full movie report.
But
You will.
That's kind of what got you into meteorology, was your own fear of storms, and then you confronted that and became a meteorologist, which I think is really cool.
Yep, I sure did. And I've chased them too. So definitely have to see that movie. But did you hear about the hurricane season down
Yeah,
south?
I was going to say, you have a story up on our website at civicmedia.us, and you can go to the news tab. Our news department does a wonderful job. So let's talk about hurricanes.
So they are saying it is going to be the most aggressive, most active hurricane season yet. That's what the forecasters are saying. Now, I'm not a big hurricane forecaster. I specialize in the Midwest and tornadoes, but they are saying, 2023 last year was the fourth highest. 2020 was the most active. They had 29 named storms. This year, they're thinking anywhere from 17 to 25 named storms.
My goodness.
That's
8
terrible.
to 13 of them becoming hurricanes. So that's 75 mile per hour winds plus. That's doing damage if those make landfall. Not all of these are going to be making landfall.
Right.
But 4 to 7 of them, 4 to 7 major hurricanes they're forecasting for. That's winds over 111 miles per hour, plus the storm surge. And you think about how warm the Atlantic is, the melting and the active rain. Our sea levels are higher. So that storm surge from any given hurricane could be worse this year than years past. So it's going to be pretty crazy. We are right now in an El Nino, and we're switching from that to a La Nina by July, August timeframe. And with that switch in the patterns and the record-setting warm ocean temperatures that we've been seeing year after year, two things are fuel for hurricanes. You get less wind out there, the wind shear trying to break those hurricanes up. That's what happens in a La Nina. And then the warmth, fuel.
Check out Brittany's story at civicmedia.us. Brittany Merlot joins us every other Thursday at this time. Thank you so very much. We will see you next week. Thank you, Greg and Calvin, and to our engineers. Without you guys, nothing works. Thank you most of all to you for calling and for texting and for listening. It means the world. I hope you find some joy today and you have the chance to share it. News is next, followed by Todd Alba. Stay close. You're listening to the Civic Media Radio Network.